Right, so in the 6 years that AEW has existed for, they have waged in a quote-unquote war with the WWE. We used to always see AEW constantly fire shots at WWE on air on their TV shows, which doesn't happen as much anymore, and nowadays the most war we see between the two is when WWE is counter-programming AEW's shows. We are very much long gone from 2019 until 2021, where it really was the Wild West between WWE and AEW, and whilst AEW were usually the ones firing shots and taking jabs at WWE, in 2020, WWE allegedly employed one of the craziest tactics I've ever seen in a wrestling war before, and that was when they allegedly sent a spy to AEW to leak AEW results. It's a crazy story. It's one that is one of my favorites to tell in all of AEW history, so like and subscribe and let's talk about it. So the idea that WWE sent a spy to AEW to leak the results is an idea that was first put into surface by Chris Jericho, as Jericho spoke about it on a 2020 live stream when he said, "Social media is a different ball of wax though. I think the amount of people who are on social media is very small compared to the overall people watching. For example, when we had the debate and Eric Bischoff was announced on Reddit, and we know who the spy is by the way, oh, we know, he'll never be fucking back in AEW, an NXT reject was a spy, so print that." Right out the gate, a huge amount of information is just thrown at you. Apparently, a former NXT wrestler wrestled for AEW and leaked the Eric Bischoff debate segment to Reddit. So obviously after these quotes from Chris Jericho came out, people instantly started digging up recent former WWE NXT wrestlers that had appeared in AEW and could possibly be the ones who are being referred to here, and from searching through AEW Dark and all the AEW programmings for a former NXT wrestler who was in and out of the company around the time the Bischoff debate happened, it only referred back to one man, that being a man by the name of SABBY. You've not heard of SABBY before? Okay, what about Tino Sabbatelli? Does that name ring a bell? Maybe it does. Tino Sabbatelli is a former WWE wrestler who was signed to the company in 2014. Real name Sabatino Piscatelli, was a former athlete. He began playing American football through high school and through college, and he had a short bit of experience in the NFL. However, his professional football career never really took off the ground, mainly down to unfortunate injuries that he sustained during his football career that held him back. And following his exit from the NFL in 2011, he would go over to the WWE in 2014 as he was signed to NXT and would begin training in professional wrestling. And Tino Sabbatelli is one of those guys who was just never able to escape the Performance Center vortex. He never really made it beyond the NXT live event circuit. He was never a big name or even a regular name on NXT TV, and where I imagine most people know him from, or where I was first introduced to Tino Sabbatelli, was from the WWE Network show Breaking Ground, which was their documentary show about the Performance Center and about NXT, and Tino Sabbatelli was heavily showcased and a big feature in this show, showing his struggles in the Performance Center. It highlighted his NXT training and his recovery from a concussion. It wasn't until 2 years after he had signed in October of 2016 when he finally made his debut on NXT TV, but he still never became a regular on NXT TV. He made very infrequent appearances, mainly appearing on live events, and he was very much a jobber. He teamed up with Riddick Moss in a short-lived tag team in NXT, and in his entire NXT career, he only won one match on NXT TV, that being when him and Riddick Moss defeated Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. And Tino Sabbatelli and Riddick Moss would make occasional jobber tag team appearances up until April of 2018, which ended up being Tino Sabbatelli's last televised match in NXT, as he was sent back down to the Performance Center live event vortex and eventually released from the WWE on April 17th, 2020 as part of their COVID budget cuts, thus ending Tino Sabbatelli's 6-year WWE career before it ever really started. However, luckily for Tino, fresh out of the WWE, he was given another opportunity in another company, that of course being AEW, who were also still running shows during the pandemic, and specifically running a show called AEW Dark, which allowed unsigned wrestlers to get work and wrestle against signed AEW wrestlers almost in a tryout kind of way as well. So it was a good opportunity for Tino, as he would appear on AEW Dark with the ring name named Sabby, and he teamed up with Brady Pierce in a losing effort to the Best Friends on AEW Dark episode 43. It was a nice platform for Sabby to get, especially post WWE release, a good platform for him to have to get him going again. However, he was then never seen in AEW again, which I guess isn't too surprising because not everyone who goes on to AEW Dark becomes a regular. However, Tino surprisingly never appeared on the indie scene at all, and in fact, in October, just 6 months after his WWE release, he was re-signed back to the WWE, making him the first wrestler that was released during the pandemic budget cuts to get re-signed to the company. Obviously, it's a bit surprising he got re-signed just 6 months after, but it's not really out of the ordinary at all. It's normal to see people re-signed to the WWE, and hey, maybe they had plans now for Tino Sabbatelli. But then, of course, you remember the comments that Chris Jericho made about Sabby, allegedly, and his AEW appearance. Tino Sabbatelli was in and out of AEW very quickly and straight back to WWE, and that's why people were convinced that it was Tino Sabbatelli that Chris Jericho was referring to as the NXT spy. He came to AEW around the time that Eric Bischoff's segment happened. He was gone after one appearance. He's a former NXT wrestler, and he went back to WWE as well, just to top it all off. There is a sussy imposter among us. And later it was reported by Fightful Select that Tino Sabbatelli was indeed who Chris Jericho was referring to, and further went on to say that people in AEW also believed that he was the mole. I can't say for sure that he is the mole, I can only say people in AEW think he is the mole, and when I say that, I mean Chris Jericho mentioned in NXT Reject months ago, leaking information. I don't talk to Tino Sabbatelli, but I can tell you that AEW, their people, think he was, and he's back in NXT, so that is going to raise some questions and some eyebrows. So yeah, whether it was true or not, Chris Jericho was referring to Tino Sabbatelli. That is the very least confirmed, but we wouldn't hear anything from Tino Sabbatelli about it because, of course, he had returned back to the WWE now. He had other things to focus on. And remember what I said before about Tino Sabbatelli potentially now getting a new opportunity and a new story in WWE? Well, unfortunately, that didn't happen at all. Matter of fact, he didn't wrestle once during his return run back in the WWE. Of course, it was the pandemic, so live events and house shows weren't running, and he was never used on TV at all. And he was gone from the WWE once again just 8 months later on June 25th, 2021, as he was released from his WWE contract once more, which made his match on AEW his last ever wrestling match that he's had, unless he does make a return someday. But as of right now, that AEW Dark match he had 5 years ago in July of 2020 is his last wrestling match. And what a way to go out with allegations of being a spy. However though, in 2022, Tino Sabbatelli would finally respond and speak about the spy allegations, and Tino Sabbatelli essentially laughed off the allegation and said that he is not internet savvy enough to be able to pull off something like leaking results online. He said the following in an interview with Chris Van Vliet in 2022.
I thought that was a little strange. But then the story came out, then your name got attached to about leaking storylines from AEW.
Oh man, Chris, let me tell you something. I had to laugh. And if anybody knows me, first of all, I don't even know where to begin with this. I don't even, first of all, I'm like internet, like kind of a dummy. I don't even know what a dirt sheet is. I don't even know. I don't even use Twitter. Like I don't go on Instagram. I don't go on internet. I don't go on any of those things. I'm not even one of those people to even talk about that. So I heard the rumor came out. So I was getting like tagged and stuff. And I was like, whatever, not pay attention to it. So somebody approached me and said, yo, you hear what Chris Jericho said about you? I said, what? I said, I don't know, what was the quote? Do you remember the quote? Because it's something like, he said an NXT reject.
Yeah, that someone was leaking storylines, and the quote is that Jericho says it was an NXT reject.
Yes, okay. So I ignored it. Like, I was like, you know what, I'm not even getting involved in this. Like, I didn't even know where this is coming from. So then people started bringing it up to me more and more, so I started looking into it. So I'm like, what is this dude talking about? So then I read, it says something like, that somebody leaked that there was like a Hall of Famer or like a legend at AEW, like some name or something like that. And I might sound stupid saying this, but like I probably would have walked right by him and not even noticed him, to be honest with you. But for me to go to the internet and speak on something I know nothing about, and I'm no disrespect, I don't care that much, bro. Like, I'm not that dude. Like, that was so mind-blowing to me. And actually, when Impact called me, we thought Impact called Terry Taylor and asked him about that. And Terry called me. I said, Coach, I don't even know what he's talking about. Like, I don't even know what a dirt sheet is. Like, this is nonsense. So I never got to the bottom of it. Supposedly my name was involved because there was a couple NXT guys there the same week or month I was there. But I can tell you from a God honest truth, man, I don't even know what I would type in to put on dirt. Like, I don't even know how I would do it. Honestly, I don't even know what I would say. Where do I even go? So for me, that was mind-blowing. Maybe that's what Tony Khan doesn't like me on. I don't know. That could be it too.
So yeah, that is the full story. Tino Sabbatelli says that he didn't do it and he wasn't the spy. Chris Jericho says it was him. Who knows? Like I said, Tino Sabbatelli hasn't wrestled in 5 years. The last match he had was that match in AEW, and nowadays he just chills at home with Mandy Rose, so fair play to him on that. Tino Sabbatelli's wrestling career definitely didn't go as well as it could have or as planned. He began it in 2014 and never really became a mainstay of any television show, and unfortunately he's probably looked back on mostly for being this alleged spy for WWE in AEW, and it's very funny that his last match he had was in AEW, to be fair. Regardless, he says he wasn't the mole, Chris Jericho says he was. End of the day, it's he said, she said. I just think this is a very funny story. Believe it or not, sending spies to people isn't actually as uncommon as you would think, especially in the world of sports. I don't know if you watch any football or soccer, any of my audience, but I remember back in the day when Leeds United allegedly sent a spy to spy on Frank Lampard and his Coventry team. So it's definitely not uncommon at all, but what is uncommon is Arsenal winning a Champions League trophy, and that is because they are the smallest team in London. But yeah, that's about all I have to say in regards to the Tino Sabbatelli / Sabby / Chris Jericho spy AEW WWE allegations. Just trying to cram in all the keywords there, could you not tell? If you did enjoy this video, then be sure to smash the like button and subscribe for more videos on the Top 10 Wrestling channel just like this one. Comment down below your thoughts on this entire situation and what videos you'd like to see next. I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye and keep on rolling.